Alright guys, on to today's main video. I'm going to be doing a quick movie review. So today I'm going to be talking about Light of My Life. Now, what is Light of My Life? Good question. Light of My Life is a post-apocalyptic survival thriller film. So, first thing right off the bat, there's no zombies, okay? This is not a zombie movie. I know most post-apocalyptic films are zombie movies. This is not one of those. So it stars Casey Affleck. We all know his brother Ben Affleck, but I feel like most people don't even know Ben Affleck has a brother. He's just like not out there like Ben is, okay? And then we have this little child actress called Anna Panowski, okay? So this is a 2019 film from Paramount, I believe. Paramount, yep. And basically, we don't get like a whole lot of backstory. All we really know is in this civilization, there is a virus that kind of wiped out half the population on Earth, which in this case is the female population. So basically, we kind of see flashbacks and news clippings. You know, we see Casey Affleck and his wife, and their daughter is just born. He calls her Rag, and basically, he's kind of just like Dad is his name in this movie. So we have Dad played by Casey Affleck, and then we have Rag, which is played by Anna Panowski. And basically he's just trying to like protect her in this world. She's like a young kid, like 10, 11, and basically they're on the move. You know, they can never stay in one place for too long. They're somewhere in the Midwest. They don't necessarily clarify where. And you know, he wants to like protect his daughter at all cost, obviously, since it's like the end of the world. But also, with her being a girl, she is very rare because most women, you know, get, you know, killed by the virus. So there's a scene where they go into town and they're like getting supplies and food and things like that. And there's this one guy who mentioned something like they're manufacturing girls in a lab in China or something like that. And you know, she's just, you know, very curious, and she's never seen, you know, any other kids and no other females. So when they're going around and to libraries and getting supplies and things, you know, she's very smart, so she's inquisitive and intuitive, and she's always reading books and things like that. And you know, he just really teaches her to do, you know, to be very strong and self-sufficient. They filter their own water, things like that. You know, he teaches her how to like read a compass. And there's this funny scene where they're walking, and he's basically asking her like what direction they're going. And he's like, "Hey, you know, you have to stop because you can't, you know, you can't walk and read the compass and read at the same time." And then she basically proves that she can do all those things at the same time. You know, she's a very smart kid. So it's a really interesting movie. A lot of it is just kind of survival. You know, not a lot of action. There's not even a huge plot that actually goes on in this. It's not like people are trying to like kidnap her or anything like that. But there is a scene where basically they find this old farmhouse, and they kind of like stay there for a few days. But you know, then these men come who saw them in town the day before, and you know, they kind of want trouble, so they have to leave that house. And then there is a climax at the end of this where they actually do come in contact with another family who is in this other farmhouse, and there are these other group of men that come looking for them for a particular reason. And I'm not going to spoil why, but you'll just have to watch it and find out. So, Light of My Life is, I think it's a good movie. It's it's not for everybody. If you're looking for like zombie apocalypse type of films, that's not what you're going to get in this. A lot of this is just dialogue, and he's teaching her about the world, and they're kind of just, they're nomads basically. And we see a few flashbacks of him and his wife, and of Rag when she's a little baby. So it's a lot of, there's some pretty sentimental moments for Casey Affleck, because he's remembering his wife, and he's talking to Rag, and she doesn't really remember her mom, and he's just like, she was the best mom ever, and she just was so excited about being your mom, and that was like something she was so proud of. And so I think it's a nice little movie. It's not really action heavy. It's not a lot of plot, or you know, there's not a lot of horror in here. It's not like a horror movie. It's just like a survival thriller, and it's really good. It's really just about a bond between a dad and his daughter. So, I mean, I can't really say much more because there's not a lot to this movie, and I don't mean that in a bad way, because I actually did like this movie. I watched it like one time on streaming a few years ago, and I didn't really remember much of it, so I had to give it a rewatch, and I definitely like this. So, personally, I would give this movie a 7 out of 10, just because, a lot of the dialogue is great between the father and the daughter, and there are a couple thrilling moments. So, if you do like post-apocalyptic survival films, this is something you would like. So you should definitely check out Light of My Life. Oh yeah, I also have to say this was written and directed by Casey Affleck, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah. Yep. Yep, there it is right there. Written and directed by Casey Affleck. So yeah, he's a pretty talented guy. If you haven't seen some of his other movies, I would check out his filmography, because he's very talented. I don't know why he's not in more movies in Hollywood. Personally, I think he is just as good of an actor as Ben, if not better. Now that I think of it, why don't they just cast him in The Accountant? Because he's actually Ben Affleck's brother. Instead of John Bernthal, why don't they just actually have him? I mean, wouldn't that make more sense? He's probably cheaper too. I mean, he's not like an A-list star like, John Bernthal is. John Bernthal being in like Marvel, he's pretty much like an A-list star at this point. But anyway, that is a whole nother topic entirely. Those are my thoughts of Light of My Life. Definitely check this one out.